Hello and welcome to Budget Consultants YouTube channel where we discuss construction costs and planning in Jamaica. If you're planning to build and want to understand construction costs, then this channel is for you. Today I will be using what is known in Jamaica as the independent contractor's rate sheet to do another assessment of the same 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom that I started with. As I said in my previous video, I personally, and nobody that I know, can validate where these sheets come from. The best a person will say to you is, these are parish council rates. I don't know any parish council who have taken ownership of making these rates. They are sold at the parish council as rate sheets. But personally, the parish council won't sign or stamp to it, so it's their rate. So, as I said, I don't know. I'm just taking it as I got it. The thing about it, knowing that it is not an established person or organization that made these rates, the possibility is that what you see on your rate sheet might be different from what I see on my rate sheet. If I was crooked, I could take these sheets, and if something don't suit me, I could possibly change it out. And there's a low chance that somebody would know that it differs and whatever was the original. So on our cost control section, we are going to be swapping out the rates. We have relabeled the title to Cost Control ICRS, which is Independent Contractors Rate Sheet. So the first rate that we'll be swapping out is the line out. One of the things to note before we start the swapping out is that the rates on the independent contractors rate sheet use a different unit from the ones that we used before. So we are going to essentially have to do some conversions. But what we'll be doing first, we'll be swapping out the rates, and then we move to the conversions, and I'll point out the different conversions that I have to do. The first item that we'll be swapping out is line out. As seen on the rate sheet, it falls under the heading number 1. All these items, I'm going to just refer to the number that, the independent contractor's rate sheet is specifying that you can find the rate. So line out is at number 1. Excavate foundation, or to dig foundation, as we say in Jamaica, is number 16. Excavation of column footing, number 22. Casting of foundation, number 21. Steelwork is number 110. Stirrups is number 112. This rate sheet specifies links along with stirrups, 2 different prices. But to make it easy, I don't want to split it up. I'm just using the stirrup price. Then we have block work, which is number 5. Farm work, which is at number 36. I'm using the L column farmer cost. There's also a cost for stiffeners. Because I'm doing this thing generally, I'm just using one. Because most time workmen are not going to fluctuate between stiffeners and column. Like, for instance, in this case, you have column price at number 36, and then you have stiffener price at 121. But the casting of the stiffeners does not come with a cost. So for that, they would usually refer back. So I'm just using two things in close proximity. For the average builder, stiffeners are seen as columns. So, I'm not going to go into the difference between both. I'm just doing a general summary. So for farm work, first stiffeners are column, number 36. For the casting of those stiffeners are column, number 37. To put up the decking or to put up the slab is seen as number 119B. 119A is for 4-inch, 119B is for 6-inch. So I'm using 6-inch. So that's 119B. To cast the slab or cast the decking, number 72. To fill the floor, number 73. To rough cast and render walls, number 66. To rough cast and render ceiling, number 67. To dress rough cast and render the cantilever is number 45. And to rough cast and render jambs, door jambs, window jambs, etc. is number 52. So these are the rates that I have swapped out. As you see here on my cost control sheet, one of the first conversions that I have to do is for the steelwork. Now, based on the amount of different steelwork that I've specified, I think it is easier to do the conversion on the cost control side for the steelwork because I have several items with the unit being tons. So the independent contractor is referring to steelwork and the unit being pounds. If you Google it, the difference between a ton of steel and a pound of steel is 2,240 pounds. So to make this conversion easy, that I don't have to do it on the summary page, I will be converting it on the cost control section so it easily recalculates on the other side, without me having to individually edit all the different steelwork that I have around it. I can just adjust the rate in the cost control area, and that will fix everything. So the rate presented here by the independent contractors is $60 per pound for steelwork. That's what the conversion is saying. That is not my costing, that's independent contractors costing. So that's the only rate that I am converting in the cost control area. Everything else would be converted in the summary. The first thing that we want to convert is the line out unit and the line out calculation. Previously, I had the line out in square feet, which is the coverage area of the building. At this point, because they say running feet, which are linear measurements, I will be using the amount of running feet that would be built up from the profile or the batter board. The building that we are using as our experiment is 45 feet long and 27.5 feet wide. When you are putting up profile boards or what is seen as batter boards, there's always an allowance measurement that you have to add to the board to allow persons to work in the area when they are doing preliminary work without affecting the profile or the batter board. So in this case, we are going to be adding an additional 4 feet. Either way, essentially we are adding 8 feet to the length and 8 feet to the width, and then we are going to times it by 2. So for the length, which is 45, you add 8 to that, you're going to get 53 feet. And for the width, which is 27.5, you add 8 to that, you're going to get 35.5. You put these two together, you're going to get 88.5. And if you times that by 2, you're going to get 177. So we are swapping out 1153, 177, changing the name of the units from square feet run. Our second conversion is for the excavation of foundation. Originally we had per feet. Now we are going to be converting it to cubic yards. So a cubic yard is 27 square feet. It is 3 feet length, 3 feet width, and 3 feet in height. A volume calculation. So whatever volume we get when we are calculating, if we are using a consistent measurement, say feet, we will just divide it by the 27, which is the 3 by 3 by 3. For this foundation, it was 260 feet long. The width of the foundation is 1.5 feet, 1.5, and the depth was 3 feet. So you'd multiply 260 by 1.5 by 3. So what we do is that we are going to divide 1170 by 27, which is going to give you 43.3 cubic yards. The rate is already auto-filled. The next thing that we are going to be changing is the block work. Originally, we were using block work as each per one. In this case, it is saying square yard. Now it takes 10 blocks to fill the equivalent of a square yard. An easy conversion is just to divide the amount of blocks that we had by 10, and then we can get the equivalent in square yards. So it's just dividing this by 10, and now we have the block work in square yard, which is aligning itself with the rate. And then we're going to rename the units from each to square yard. The second to last conversion is to put up the decking or the suspended slab. Originally, we were using square feet. In this case, independent contractors is saying square. So a square is the equivalent of a 10 by 10 area. 10 feet length, 10 feet width, which is 100 square feet. So whatever measurements we had in square feet, we are just going to divide it by 100. And the conversion will move over to what is referred to as square. So we are going to divide this by 10. And then we are going to change the unit term from square feet and put square. And the final conversion is going to be to cast a slab. That was originally in square feet. The independent contractor is using square yards. So 1 square yard is usually 3 feet by 3 feet. So 3 by 3 is 9. So what we'll do is that we'll just divide the amount of square footage we have here by 9, and it is converted to square yards. So after putting in all these, doing our conversions, independent contractor is saying $2.4 million to be spent. The first calculation that we did was saying 3.1. So there's a difference of $700,000 here. So for the average customer, if I'm doing an evaluation with a customer, the customer would say, yeah, I want somebody who's using independent contractors rate sheet because I will spend less. Here's the problem with this now. As much as I have just used these rates, what I can tell you from good experience with doing negotiation with workmen for customers, only a minute few rates on this a workman would agree to. Minute few. So basically this rate sheet and the cost that is presented, if it's evaluated properly, you're not going to have any workers. Because most workers are way above this locally. Far, far above it. A simple display of why this rate sheet can't make any sense is that if you were to calculate the amount of blocks in the square yard and times it by 100, you're going to get $7,250 per 100. You're not going to get that on the market. Everybody that's doing block work will want more than that. So if you were to hold this to a workman and say, I am not paying more than this, you're going to be out of workers. Because workmen have the power to actually walk off your project and don't come back. And usually you want to have a stable set of persons who are doing a project from the start to the finish so you can have some level of accountability. Changing workmen in the process only leaves the liability on you. The block work price, that makes no sense. At best, workmen would accept the line out, the column footing, and the steel work of all these rates. Everything else which is on this, I can almost guarantee you that they are not going to accept them. And you cannot force workmen to accept them. So it's either you are going to throw away this thing and don't bring it up, or use it and have the conflict with workmen. Because the moment you start paying out and they see these rates, they are going to say they're not working for those rates and whichever project they have worked on and gotten better rates. So if you want a conflict on your site, take out the independent contractors rate sheet and try to work with it. Because I guarantee you, as I would advise my individual customers, our companies, or other building professionals, this thing cannot add up and it will only lead to conflicts on site. And if you are going to be running a company in construction and you are walking around this thing, don't be surprised when you end up in conflicts. Because this is the bunch of bull. So whoever did this, I see a contact here, can't make any sense. On this rate sheet, the best paid person, apart from the steelman, is going to be the laborer. So if you want to use it, fine. But don't complain when the conflicts start. And don't be surprised when you see the workmen not showing up back to your site when you are holding this to them to say these are the rate sheet. So if you want a peaceful resolution to work, I would say get the rates from workmen, have these rates evaluated. If the rates fall in favor with your project, then fine. But for me, I'm not recommending that any of my customers work with any workman who is using this thing because it's always going to lead to conflict. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.